it did, because it's all about humble roots. I mean, I came from very humble roots, and I'll never forget where I came from growing up on the streets of Baltimore. I mean, you know, and so that helps shape you. But I think there's some other things that guide and help contribute to your development as a leader in the military. And so, you've heard folks like General Petraeus talk about sort of the tenets of the strategic leader, and that's the execution of leadership. What leaders do, sort of on a macro level, and those things are very, very important for being an effective leader. It's about getting the big picture right, communicating the big picture across your team, then executing, the mission, doing, putting all the pieces into place, and then assessing and going back and doing it over again. Getting that big picture right, what you need to do, and continuing forward. It's a continuous cycle. So that's about the execution piece. But I'm also, I really believe in the values piece. I talk about sometimes what I call values-based leadership. And that's, understanding what your own core values are as a human being and being able to distribute those over the execution of leadership as a system, if you will.
When did all that start kicking in, though? I mean, like you said, gradually military trains leaders, you graduate. That wasn't day one. I mean,
no, absolutely not. No way. No way. This is the culmination of, 30 years of a military career, and then a career going forward in the civilian sector. So, again, the military is a system that takes young people and does extraordinary things with them. And over time, you build people up. And so, you get more skills, you learn to lead at a higher level. And then if you're successful, the military moves you to the next level. And if you're not successful, depending on at what point you are in your career, you either stay there or maybe you get out and you go do something else.
It's like you said, a culmination of 30 plus years. What's the responsibility level of somebody, like your first position outside of OCS? What level of responsibility are you playing at that field?
As a junior officer, regardless of what service you are in, I mean, you're going to have a group of people, that work for you or with you. And, so on board a ship, I was an assistant supply officer, and I had a department of about 30 some people.
Okay.
And I was responsible for their training and development. And then I had specific teams that I was leading, and then others that I worked sort of in a matrixed way with, because I was still their division officer, regardless of whether they were reporting to me for day-to-day assignments or not. So, and most junior officers are going to have that same kind of level of experience. They're going to have a handful of enlisted troopers that they'll work with. They're going to have those senior enlisted leaders that are technical professionals, in the business, whatever area that they're in, whether it's operations or supply or intelligence or whatever. And so, but the one thing, so listening is very, very important, David. So even when you're a 22-year-old green officer, it's about listening, because the people around you are the ones that are going to be advising you. And your job is sort of to sift through the different pieces of information in order to make cogent decisions on a leadership level. So you got to, and even at the 4-star level, I mean, the best 4-star leaders that I have served with bring all their staff around them, and they say, okay, team, here's the situation. And they lay it out, and they say, I need your best military advice, and those staffers go around one by one offering perspective, to that 4-star general or admiral.
At the end of the day,
that's the way it's done.
He or she has to make the call, the final decision.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's the responsibility of a senior leader is, they're the ones that are going to shape that decision and that strategy moving forward. But the best ones are always highly collaborative and taking in what the team provides and distilling that and then coming up with a cogent response to whatever the issue is.
I don't know if there's a politically correct way to ask this, so I'm just going to ask you. There are some people that can't do that, though. I mean, at that level.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, there are some people that do not have that. I don't know what the word is. internal fortitude, but don't have the ability to make that decision? I mean, have you seen that along the way?
Well, so I think it depends on whether you're talking about the military or the civilian sector. I would tell you this: since the military is a system and it raises up people from all different walks of life, all different backgrounds, eventually they wouldn't be in that position if the military as a system didn't think that they were capable of being able to function at that level.
Great point.
Now, once in a while, somebody slips through. You occasionally have a bad apple, and you see this because there are some that go to command and end up being relieved of their command because of mistakes, for whatever reason. So that happens. But that's about accountability and keeping the system on track. So military leaders are brought up to be fair, firm, and consistent. Okay, it's not about your emotions. Your emotions are out of it. None of us can fully divorce ourselves from our emotions, but it's about being fair, firm, and consistent.
And do you feel military specific, especially maybe at the higher levels, those decisions are being made to support a mission? So I say, I have to support this mission. What decision do I have to make that can best support X, Y, and Z?
Well, I mean, what do they say? Mission first, people always.
Right.
And so it's taking into consideration the health, well-being, and morale of the troops, but at the same time, you've got a very, very definitive mission to get done. And this is, in the military, it's a life or death mission, right?
Sure.
It is the defense of our nation. And all of us raised our right hand and swore an oath to defend the country against all enemies, foreign and domestic. And so, and there's a camaraderie that's built around that mission at a high level. So, and that's something that you may never get in a civilian setting. That's one of the things that veterans are so disappointed with, or often disappointed with, when they transition to the outside, because they don't have that same camaraderie